Welcome to the Manticore Expert Series. We're here to help you get more from the Manticore. We want to empower you to fully understand this phenomenal coin and treasure detector so that you're confident enough to customize it to your environment and your detecting style. Welcome to part 3 of the Manticore Expert Series. Today we're talking about audio. Now the Manticore is a highly customizable detector, and one area in particular where you've got a high degree of customization is audio. Different tones, different audio themes. So because there's such a high degree here, we thought we'd speak directly to Minelab and get the information from them. So we're going to head over to speak to Mark Laurie again, Minelab's General Manager of Engineering, and he's going to talk us through some great options that you have on this machine. Can we talk about audio on the Manticore? Because there's some familiarity for people that might have used, say, Equinox, but there's a lot of new stuff as well.
Yes.
First thing we see commonly is we see different tone selections that you can have, and they're very similar to Equinox, aren't they?
Yes, particularly in the first modes that you'll come across, like All-Terrain General, for example. A lot of those defaults are set up to make it easy for people that have used other Minelab products, like Equinox 600 and 800, and fundamentally this machine can be set up to sound exactly like an Equinox or a Vanquish, and then on top of that we've added some other examples that are preset in the modes, or you can set them up yourself to make it sound more like a CTX or more like a Xterra, Voyager. You can do all sorts of whatever you want, really.
Well, because we're seeing a lot of people move from Equinox to Manticore, how would you like physically do that? What would be the steps to make a Manticore sound more like an Equinox if you just made that jump and you want it to a bit of familiarity?
Well, you go into the menu system and then you go to target tones, and you literally press the red cursor arrows left and right to cycle through the different. And for example, one of them's called 5 region all tones, which is a special one in that it has 5 separate regions, so you will still hear some jump in pitch between the regions, but within each one the pitch varies as well. So it's kind of a hybrid where you get to hear the nuance of the targets, but it is banded enough that your brain, as you go across the target, it jumps out at you that it's a high conductor or a low conductor.
Tell where it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then there's the simpler ones in there as well. For example, there's just 5-tone, which is literally what's in an Equinox in some of its default modes. There's a 2-tone, which is a really simple, almost dig everything type mode, and 1-tone, which really is just 1 tone for everything. It's a beat machine, just horses for courses, really.
There is no best setting.
No, so it comes down to either what machines you've used in the past, and as you move to this one, what's going to make you have a comfortable starting point. Or what I would also recommend is, like we were saying earlier with experimenting, just try one of them.
Yeah. Use
it for 10 minutes. If you like it, great. If you don't, switch back.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it. There is no right answer with what your ears and the brain behind your ears likes listening to and making sense of. So for some people, they like less pitch variation and more discrete beeps.
Yep.
And that helps them just focus, and for other people they really like all the extra information and the slight pitch variations, and so it really comes down to, I guess, how experienced you are in terms of your brain being able to comprehend the input that's coming in through the audio and making sense of that to dig good targets. And if you dive in too deep and use an expert's settings, you can sort of swamp yourself and get lost in the noise of everything that's been thrown at you. And at that stage in your metal detecting career, you're probably better off just simplifying it a little bit, maybe go back to something that's not all tones, give that a go for an hour, and then once you're familiar again, try getting some pitch variation within the regions. Cool. So play around with it, but like we said earlier, keep checking back to make sure you're not making it worse for yourself or harder for yourself, because at the end of the day, if it's too complicated for you to listen to and make sense of, it's going to make you sweat a bit, and then you're not enjoying it anymore, and then you're not concentrating, and then you stop finding targets.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's the move and the similarities from Minelab machines then on the tone setting. But what you've got in the Manticore, which is new, is the audio themes.
Yes.
So could you explain a bit about those, please?
So consider what we were just talking about, which is target tones, to be really the pitch and the way the pitch varies depending on the target you're finding. But in addition to that, you have the audio themes, and what that's actually capturing really is the way that the sound is produced by the computer inside the metal detector. And so what we've given you is, the first one is normal. That's quite similar to what's in a Vanquish and an Equinox. And then we added a new one which is enhanced, and that gives you a bit of a longer response. So it's actually putting a bit more of the information that the metal detector engine or computer is actually extracting from the target. So it's giving more nuance to the target response. And then we've got depth as an audio theme, which is quite specific. There's been some detectors in the history of metal detecting and different models where, depending on how deep the target is, you want the pitch to change with the depth. So that's quite a specialised mode that some people like. So we've added that to this product because it's a high-end product. And then prospecting, which is specifically finding gold, and that really does sound like Minelab's range of gold detectors.
Right.
So depending what you're doing, you pick which one. But by and large, I would say a lot of people just stay with normal. It's what's in a lot of the defaults, and it works fantastically. And within that normal, you can actually press the little pencil icon, which is like an edit symbol, and go down to profile. And what that lets you set up, again, this is sort of the history of metal detectors, but you can actually change how much, for a deeper target, how much the sound diminishes in almost volume or amplitude, as we call it in engineering land. And so, for example, simple is like, really, it goes, a deep target will sound quite similar to a shallow target.
Right.
And then as you go across, and that's similar to what's on a Vanquish. And then medium, which is more like what's on an Equinox. You've got a little bit of nuance now. You can actually pick a deeper target, say a coin at 30 centimetres versus one that's at 5 centimetres. And then you've got rich, which is actually, in my experience, more akin to a CTX 3030. It really does make a deeper target sound all sort of quieter.
Right.
So you can really, at first pass, if you're experienced and you're listening still for those fainter targets, you'll know that's a deep target.
Right.
And depending where you are and what you're targeting, if it's a trashy area, maybe you are targeting really deep targets that are whispering underneath all the ones that are screaming at you on the surface.
Brilliant. So there's loads that you can customise in there.
Yeah, and again, just stick with the defaults if you're fairly new to using this product or metal detectors in general. And then as you become more experienced, have a play, have a bit of fun, explore, be curious, and you might find one that you actually are more productive with.
And there's no right or wrong.
No, there isn't. No.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No worries.
So, as Mark explained, audio on the Manticore is down to your preference. Take your time, experiment with tones, experiment with themes, and find out what works for you. Thank you so much for staying with us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope it's been useful to you. Please join us for episode 4. It's a really good one. So we're going to be discussing ferrous limits. If you haven't got to grips with ferrous limits on the Manticore yet, you're missing out. It's a brilliant, brilliant feature. So join us, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.